there perhaps, and that was one of the things that were, this is how the evolution has been. Apart from that, we also started doing and discussed the panchayat system. We discussed that how the panchayat system has also been a kind of ADR, and how it has seen its ups and downs, how during the pre-British era people used to prefer going to the village heads and discuss their problems rather than going to the king, the sovereign, because he was not that easily accessible. The decision was also not that even. There were a lot of impediments. There were a lot of influences, may it be rich, poor, may it be religion, or maybe because the decisions of the king were very much arbitrary. You all are aware, you know how monarchy works, depends on the good king and the bad king. So those things were there. So people did have a kind of, trust on panchayats, settling off disputes at a very local neighborhood level. However, the British codified the law, and the Britishers were not so keen with, decision being taken off by somebody else. But our constitution after independence has again put in some importance in the panchayat system. We also did that how the panchayat system these days is being tarnished by a lot of political and religious issues. So people would rather go to a court, unless of course they don't have money at all. People would rather place their trust on courts as the neutral bodies than on panchayats, because they are heavily politically, religiously influenced. Okay, so I think I summed up whatever we did in the last class. Am I right?
Thank you,
Anything
ma'am.
else? Okay. So now we will start with today's agenda. I want you all to open up the PPTs. Let's see if I can make you see it directly from here. Okay, can you see the PPT, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, for people who are not able to see, this PPT has been uploaded. You can quickly open it in your computers and we can discuss this simultaneously. I think that will also save you any kind of hassle. Okay, so I think this is what we were to discuss. We started discussing this. We were discussing the evolution and ADR. So, guys, I'll make myself clear again. What we are trying to say is that how the essence of the Constitution is maintained even when we are discussing about ADR. So a lot of things and the aims of the constitution makers are there, and this is what ADR talks about. So we'll just try to make an interlink. ADR terminology may or may not be directly used. We are just trying to derive the essence. Okay, so don't say that, okay, this word is not applicable. It's okay. We are just trying to make a, I say, loose connection between the two, ADR and the constitution. So yes, let's start with Article 14 over here. We discussed it in the last class as well. Anyone who can tell me what this Article 14, and how can you make a link between Article 14 and ADR? We have discussed this, so somebody please volunteer and tell me.
Ma'am, Article 14 does not discriminate anyone, ma'am. When the poor or rich reaches go to the ADR, they treat equally, ma'am. According to the article.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Correct. Anyone else? This is correct.
And it's above and below, which means everybody is equal in law.
Yeah.
Everybody has rights, whoever is maybe. Anybody
Yes.
can
So
post it.
yes. Yes. These guys are absolutely correct. Anyone else has a different opinion they would like to add to, or this is correct? We'll move on. Anyone else who would like to say something? Okay, so we'll move on to Article 21. Yes, so we did discuss at how Article 21, which talks about life or personal liberty, but we all have read that how Article 21 has been expanded, has been given a judicial interpretation, and how we can actually interpret Article 21. We can expand Article 21 to include a lot of things which are applicable for ADR as well, or in ADR as well. So anyone can tell me that? Guys, anyone? Do we have volunteers, or should I ask? I did. Yeah? Okay, now I'll have to ask by name only. Let's make it an interactive session, guys. We have Malvika Vinod over here. Malvika? Malvika, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Malvika, can you make a link between Article 21 and ADR?
Ma'am, I'm not really sure of the answer.
Okay, would you like to attempt?
It says
No.
deprived of personal life or liberty and
Okay,
the right to right to free legal aid and speedy
okay,
trial.
okay, okay. So can you make that interlink? Okay, so okay, I won't pressurize her anymore. We have Nancy Sethia over here. Nancy. Nancy, we did discuss it in the last class.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Article 21 and ADR.
Am I audible to you, ma'am?
Perfectly.
Okay. So Article 21 basically includes the right to speedy trial
Yes.
and ADR being an alternative dispute resolution. So it reduces the cost and time and it's easier for the parties to access. So
Absolutely. Absolutely correct. Abhinay ready. It will also tell me that who switched on the computer and left. Abhinay, are you here? Abhinay? See? Okay. So let's see who else we can ask. We have Andrea Mathur. Andrea, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please, Andrea. Make a link between the two, please.
It's the same thing, the speedy trial, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, please tell it in your own language. I know it's the same thing. Just tell it in your own language. It's written in front of you.
Uh, in ADR, there's a clause that if the certain case should be done within a year or so, that helps to solve more cases than in a normal trial.
Okay. 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 So I'll tell you. Fine, no problem. Can you hold on? Can you guys see the PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll tell you. So let's take it in a very simple manner. Article 21, in its liberal interpretation, talks about right to free legal aid and speedy trial. Free legal aid we'll discuss later as well, so I'm holding on to that. Let's discuss speedy trial. So what they're saying is that it is the right of every citizen to have access to speedy trial. That means your issues should be solved easily and also in a very fast manner. So when I am talking about this, ADR, the essence of ADR is basically solving disputes in a fast and easy manner. And here we are saying that Article 21 and the aim of ADR to solve disputes in a fast and easy manner are correlated. Okay, as I have said it earlier as well, the benefit of going to ADR is that you don't have to spend many years, running pillar to post in courts. You can actually solve it at a much easier level, perhaps even from the comfort of your home. If you even go for arbitration, we'll be discussing what arbitration means. Even if you go for an arbitration, it's easier than a regular civil court. And in the other examples that I gave you, that okay, let's say that you can go to a panchayat, you can ask your village elders to sit, your house elders to sort out your issues. Those issues are anyway much faster than regular trials issue. So what we're trying to say over here is that it is my right to get my issue resolved in a very speedy manner. Okay. So if I actually opt for ADR, my right is not infringed. On the other hand, our ADR is actually complementing, or ADR is actually following the essence of Article 21 and is giving me speedy trial. Okay, or I should say speedy solution to my dispute. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Okay. Any question? Okay. So the case that we have over here is Husn Ara Khatun versus Home Secretary. You all must have heard about this case earlier as well. And in this case, we are talking about the wider interpretation of Article 21 and that how it includes, if not verbatim, in black and white article, it does include right to speedy trial as a much, wider and judicial interpretation. And we can say that we can make a link between speedy trial and ADR. So that's there. Please guys quickly read the PPT that is in front of you. People who are not able to see the PPT, I'm repeating, it has already been uploaded in the files tab of your software and you can find it there. I want you all to quickly read it. Okay. Guys, समझ आया? Did you guys get it?
हाँ ma'am.
Okay, please
Ma'am.
explain. Please explain.
Ma'am, so it talks about if there is no speedy trial, it also there is agony behind when there is no speedy trial. Apart from the expenses part of how costly it gets when the trial gets delayed, there is also highlights about the mental agony and
Strain.
which the participants go through. So it says that in this case, it is interpreted that right to speedy trial is also the essence of justice, should be the essence of justice in this country. So it's not about just the justice delivery system, it's about how speed and efficient the justice delivery system also has to work.
Absolutely. Who said this thing?
Anant, ma'am.
Anant, you spoke very beautifully. It was perfect. Anyone else who would like to just mention what Anant said? And it is written in the PPT, guys. All I want is an interpretation from you. I want your attention. That's it. So that I know that you are actually, understanding what I'm trying to teach. The whole purpose of me asking you random questions is this only. Anyone else who would like to say what we just discussed? And if you are not understanding, any one of you want me to repeat, I'll repeat it very happily. But say something. If you're not able to understand, tell me. Okay, if you have understood, then tell me what you understood. As simple as that. Anyone would like to say something? Nobody? I think I'll have to. What happened, guys? Okay, we have a hand raised from Mani Dharma. Mani Dharma, you want to say something? No. Arya, are you here? Arya Kumar Jha. Arya, are you here? No. Okay, guys. So Arya did not respond to me in the last class as well and here as well. I think he's not here, so I'm removing him and I'm cutting his attendance for today. I think this is what I'll have to do. Yeah. I've noted down Arya won't be getting attendance today. Okay, guys. Anyone else who would like to just repeat what we did? Radhika, would you like to say?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, actually,
please,
in this case, the Supreme Court has told that the court only deal with the disputes from the outer way, but the ADR deals with what human goes with the emotions and deals with in a easier way, and the same is written in the legislation, and it is introduced in the form of alternate dispute resolutions, ma'am.
Absolutely correct. So what we are trying to say over here is that Article 21, okay, talks about speedy trial, and like what Anand said, that speedy trial basically does have a lot of facets to it. It does not mean that we are just trying to save your number of years. We are also trying to save your number of, your expenses and your agony and your strain. Another thing is, when the case is sub judice, what usually happens is the parties are as a status quo, basically meaning that, okay, if you are in possession of the property and this property is a conflicted property, and the court might say, okay, let's put an injunction to it, whoever is there, just be there till the time we decide. So the other person who is fighting for the rights of the property is actually not getting anything out of it. Are you getting my point? So this person is basically suffering a lot of agony, and this person is saying that, okay, because of the number of years the case is sub judice, I'm not able to enjoy the property which should rightfully be mine. Okay, so to save all that agony to both the litigants, and specifically to the one who is not able to enjoy the property, they say right to speedy trial is the essence of the Indian Constitution. Guys, when we talk about justice, you all must have heard that justice, like delayed justice, is justice denied. Okay, and this is what our judicial system has always worked upon. But because of, n number of cases and lesser number of judges, and smaller judicial system, by smaller I mean infrastructure wise, because of that we are not able to impart the justice the way we should. ADR is here to help us solve all those problems, to complement our judicial system so that justice can be given in a faster manner, and the essence of Article 21 and the Constitution in itself is not infringed. The next one that we have is, okay, we have Article 14 again. We have discussed this. Please go through it. I've discussed this earlier as well. Please read. Is this clear? We have discussed this earlier.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Article 14 is talking about equality before law. We have done this, that no person is different due to their nature, or so on and so forth. Please read Article 39A. This is important. Okay. Anyone who can tell me what this means? 39A, equal justice.
Ma'am, my name is Manognya.
Yes, please.
Article 39A talks about the justice which has to be given to everyone, not based upon which status they are in or how they are, based on their economic or political background.
Okay. Yes, correct. Anyone else? Article 39.
Ma'am,
39A.
in Article 39A, justice is given the paramount importance. So it makes sure that nothing, even the economic condition of people, should not prevent justice.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anyone else? Both are absolutely correct. Anyone else would like to say, or I'll
Ma'am,
explain?
can you put the slide back again?
Sure, sure, sure. There you go. Visible now?
I think it'll take a little time to. Yeah, it
Yes,
is.
ma'am.
If you are not able to see, guys, I have uploaded it, so you can quickly access it from there itself. Okay, so
Ma'am, are you asking the link between article and the ADR?
Article 39A and ADR.
Article 39A basically talks about the opportunities the state is bound to provide to everyone so that they can
Yes.
access to justice. A lot of people, due to their economic conditions, may not be able to access court, and also by setting up
Yes.
ADR, it makes it easier for them to access.
Absolutely, as simple as that. Who was this?
Pranay. Jain.
Pranay. Nice DP, Pranay. Okay, so we are talking of this over here. Article 39A. We are talking about equal justice. All of you all are absolutely correct. We are saying that no person should be denied justice just because of their economic or any other kind of background or their any other kind of disability. So we are saying that it is securing equal opportunity for all citizens. And how can you make a correlation of this with ADR? As simple as that, that ADR does not, let's say, distinguishes between people on the basis of their background or their economic power. And this is how we can say that yes, the essence of Article 39A is evidently prevailing in ADR as well. ADR can be opted for by any person irrespective of who they are and where they are and how rich they are. So yes, this is the reason why we are saying that ADR also provides equal justice in tune with the Constitution. Okay, everyone clear, or and move on? The next, here we have Article 39A also talks about free legal aid. Okay, please read it if you can see the PPT. Guys, can you see the PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please read the first two paragraphs. Here we are still talking about the other facet of Article 39A, which is free legal aid. Anyone? Everything is here. Just read it and interpret it in your own language.
Ma'am, actually what 39 is saying, like so many people who are not approaching to the like ADR or the courts because of their economic problems. They are not able to keep enough money to go there. So what 39 says that to give legal aid to the people who can have their justice.
Okay,
and
so I'll polish your answer a little. So when you are saying that people are not able to approach the court for ADR, let's just say that you are here talking about, let's say, arbitral tribunal, or you are perhaps talking about, a mediation center of some sort, that they want an alternative, but they are not able, they want a neutral party. For that, they are approaching the mediation center or the arbitral tribunal. Okay, so that's why I'm just polishing it. Let's not think of it like a proper court. Okay, so anyone else? She's correct. Just a couple of words were needed to be rectified. Anyone else? Article 39A, legal age and ADR.
Like in legal aid, they say that any dispute, any kind of disputes, which should be free of cost when it's going for resolution. Same is with ADR, because people in ADR who the people who solve these cases, they don't really take money, or they take very less amount. It is easily approachable.
Okay, that is there. Another thing here is when we talk about ADR and free legal aid, if any one of you all is interested in writing a paper, this is a very interesting topic to write about, because what I saw is that, okay, just go and read about this topic. You will see that how interesting it is and how not a lot of people approach the court for ADR. So even though mechanisms are there, but they are not used that much, and also how concepts of free legal aid are provided in CPC as well with relation to ADR. Okay, so we are not going into that much of detail, but I will recommend that you do go and read about it. So coming back, we are talking about ADR. Let me just, hold on. Yeah, so we are talking about that how it is the directive. Yes, please.
Ma'am, I had a doubt from what Aishwarya just said. So she said ADR is relatively cheaper, but isn't there a notion that ADR is rather expensive?
No, it's cheaper. That is the whole idea of ADR.
Yeah, but then there is.
It also depends. It also depends on what particular methodology you are choosing. Okay, so if you are going for a neighborhood ADR mechanism, if you are going for a mediation, if you are going for a conciliation, if you are going for anything like that, okay, then of course it's way cheaper. It's costing you nothing. Okay. However, you, for example, Lok Adalats are also cheaper, right?
Yes.
So yeah, you can't just say that it is more expensive than the general code. The whole idea of this is that this is actually cheaper than the general code. Okay,
Thank you.
but that being said, do not expect that it will be absolutely free. Yes, you will have expenses. Okay, if you are going for an arbitration and if you are going through the arbitration tribunal or so on and so forth, expenses will be there. But I'm saying in comparison, it will be cheaper. Okay, so what we are talking about in 39A is free legal aid. As you know, in every code, free legal aid provisions are there so that people, indigenous people or people of lesser economic power can approach that legal aid center to approach the court. So through when they do that, their basic the court charges are saved. Sometimes even lawyers are also provided and so on and so forth. So they do save a lot of money in there. Okay, we are saying that Article 39A talks about free legal aid and that can be applied to ADR as well. I have listed here NALSA, which is the National Legal Authority of India, which facilitates the resolution of dispute. I have listed its website as well. And here they are saying that if you do want to opt for a lok adalat or a mediation or an arbitration or so on and so forth, you come to us. We'll probably be able to give you, let's say, a basic funds. Will be able to give you certain lawyer or basically will be able to help you navigate your way through all such processes. So yeah, we have an authority which is providing free legal aid, which is the essence of Article 39A. So yes, ADR is also in tune with the essence of Article 39A. Okay, am I clear? Free legal aid, yes, provided in ADR. As simple as that. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
let's do the next one,
Yes,
Article
ma'am.
40. Very easy, very, very easy. Yes, please.
Ma'am,
Article 40, yes.
ma'am, so
Article
this
40.
article, uh, so this
Yes,
article
please.
directs the state to organize the village panchayats all, so that it would be they take decisions so that the court may the it would take less time for the reduce the time going to the court.
Yes, yes, yes. Anyone else? Absolutely correct. Uh, Anyone else, or I'll explain this. It's very easy. You're talking about panchayats here. Yes, please, I can hear you.
Normally,
Ma'am, it's like having a self-government where people can approach to their own village head and they can solve their dispute easily.
Absolutely correct. Anyone else?
Ma'am, the disputes are solved in the panchayat itself so that the work of the court gets less, ma'am.
Absolutely correct. Anyone else? This is correct.
Usually,
Very
what
easy.
happens is in villages, people don't prefer to go to courts for small issues.
Also because of easy access also. The courts are
easy
not that easily accessible because they have district courts. And
Yes.
they may live in far off mandals and villages. So it's
Yes,
difficult to
ma'am.
access. Yeah.
They even don't prefer to go to those courts, so that's why in this way it even reduces the number of courts. Also, I mean, number of cases in the court as well.
Absolutely correct. All of you all are absolutely correct. Article 40 talks about, okay, so initially when we were talking about the historical background, I told you that post-independence, our constitution and the legislature has decided to put in a little more faith in the panchayat system, which saw it down during the British era. So yes, Article 40 clearly talks about it. It's saying that, okay, panchayats must happen and they must be able to function as, units of self-government. So what they're trying to say over here is this, yes, panchayats are proper legislative bodies. And yes, if you approach a panchayat to solve your small dispute, your family dispute, your local dispute for which you are not going to the court, you are actually doing an ADR. Okay, and Article 40, this is what Article 40 talks about, and this is what ADR talks about. Okay, so this is a correlation between the two. Am I clear? The next one we have is Article 51D. Article 51D. This is the one which talks about, this is the one that talks about arbitration. The word is arbitration is used. So an important article for you all, especially when we'll be doing the unit on international commercial arbitration. Yes, please tell me.
Ma'am, Article 51D extends power to the state government to take matters of international disputes. Like, for example, a dispute like consumer redressal of an international company with an Indian citizen, disputes of similar nature, they can take up.
Absolutely correct. Anyone else? The word here is, if you will see, the word here is, the word here is encourages settlement. Okay, so it's a very interesting word. Anyone who would like to focus on this word and like to say, somebody was saying something, I'm so sorry.
Ma'am, the best example for this article would be the recent case of the Italian marine officers who killed two people who were basically in the fishing boat, and the permanent court, yes ma'am, and the permanent court of arbitration stated that India does not have the jurisdiction, but they do have the right to take the compensation from this marine official. So basically, it was an arbitration matter taken before the permanent court of arbitration. So it was not a proper litigation matter, and therefore it was taken into arbitration. So this is the best example for Article 51D, where Indian government is going for arbitration matters.
Absolutely correct. So he gave an example that was also pretty good. We are saying that Article 51D of the Constitution actually directs the state and encourages that you go and opt for international arbitration. That basically mean our Constitution is using the word arbitration in itself, giving an importance to ADR. So this is pretty good for our subject's perspective, that yes, our Constitution is saying that opt for ADR, specifically in international disputes cases. Okay, so that's why we can say that yes, the will of the Constitution maker had, their mindset was a little towards promoting ADR as well and encouraging ADR as well. Okay, so that's how we can say 51D clearly talks about international arbitration and encourages the state to do so. That means our Constitution accepts ADR and our Constitution encourages ADR as a dispute resolution methodology. Am I clear?
Ma'am, does the directive to the state implies that the Constitution gives the right to the state to settle the international disputes, ma'am?
I didn't get it.
So, ma'am, here it's the PPT is mentioned that the Constitution gives the directive to the state.
It's a DPSP, no? It's a directive principle of state policy.
Okay, ma'am.
It's a DPSP.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, from that angle. It's a DPSP, that's why. Anything else? Okay,
no,
so moving on. We have here the next thing that we are going to explain, we are going to discuss is docket explosion theory. Guys, I have already uploaded a document related to it. There are some, these pointers are just explaining this theory in small gist. Okay, so docket explosion, basically, before I tell you, let me tell you the whole idea of justice system. The whole idea of giving justice is to give justice on time. I have said this earlier as well. Justice delayed is equivalent to justice denied. However, we all are aware what is happening in our judicial system at the moment, that how, justice is not being able to be delivered on time because of various reasons. Those reasons can be because of, more number of cases being admitted in court, then the case is decided by the court, and that leads to a concept which is called docket exclusion. Okay, so as you can see here, it says docket exclusion stands for the rate of institution of cases being greater than the rate of disposal of cases, which means that the cases are in arrears, the cases are in backlog, and you are not giving the justice on time, which you should, which the justice system talks about. Okay, so this is what docket exclusion theory is all about, that how the number of cases are more, which are, what should I say, which are basically applied in the court rather than the number of cases which are decided by the court. Okay, and this is what docket exclusion talks about. As you know, Article 21, we have already discussed, talks about speedy trial. But when you have this docket exclusion going on in the judicial system, you have so much of backlog of cases, you are actually in a way infringing Article 21 of the litigants. You are not giving them speedy trial, which they have a right to. You are not giving them speedy trial, which they are promised by the Constitution. So this is what docket exclusion theory is talking about, that how the number of cases which are applied in the court are more than the number of cases which are decided by the court. What is interesting over here is that we are applying the expectations of a reasonable, prudent manner. We are not saying that we can expect that every case which is applied in a court or which is filed in a court would be solved within a day. The court needs to follow its due process. The court needs to take a number of years, the number of opportunities it needs to give to both the parties to file their replies. You will see it in CPC, to file the replies, to file the written statement, and so on. So it cannot be expected that the case be decided overnight. However, there must be a limit to it. Till when can you see that, okay, this is the duration by when case must be decided? So this is what we're talking about. The docket exclusion talks about that how the number of cases are higher, which are filed in the court, than the number of cases which are disposed. How the justice is being denied in a manner that, yes, your Article 21 is being infringed because you promised a right to speedy trial. And how, on the other hand, we are not having unreasonable expectations saying that the case be decided in a day. It can't be. The case will take its due time. Okay, all we are trying to say here is that there should be some kind of, let's say, a timeline, or there should be some kind of a duration in which justice be given to a person, because justice delayed is justice denied. So this is what docket exclusion theory talks about. We will discuss this theory later in our next class as well. I have already supplied the PPT and the document. I want you all to read that. So that this is what we'll be discussing in the next class. I want to tell you that how there is a role of ADR, and when we talk about this theory, what role will ADR play when you are saying that there is an explosion of cases? How can you stop that explosion using ADR? Anyone would like to say this? Who's this?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, this is Akshita. So I actually didn't catch up what you said about the document.
Okay, no problem, Akshita. I'll repeat it again. And I think in the next class, perhaps then we'll make an interlink between docket exclusion and ADR. So docket exclusion, Akshita, basically means that how the number of cases that you filed in the court are more than the number of cases which were disposed of by the court. As simple as that. Number of cases filed greater than number of cases disposed. Okay, so docket exclusion says that because of the higher degree of, or should I say, because of the low rate of disposal of cases, basically your Article 21 is getting infringed in a manner. Article 21 guarantees you right to speedy trial. Am I right? We discussed this?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Article 21 guarantees you right to speedy trial. But because of this, backlog in the judicial system, the cases are not getting disposed on time. Because of that, you are not getting speedy trials. Because of that, your Article 21 is getting infringed. So what we are trying to do over here is we are trying to make an interlink between the two parties, between Article 21 and docket exclusion. Okay, Docket explosion, very easy language, means the cases or the number of cases which are filed in a court are more than the cases which are disposed of by the court. We all are aware about it. We know how much of backlog is there in the courts. We know how much arrears of cases are there. It takes years and years and years for a case to get disposed of or to get a final judgment, even in a district court. Okay, and then you go to a higher court, a Supreme Court. Sometimes it takes decades to get a decision from the district to the Supreme Court. So they are saying that if you're actually spending decades in one decision, you are actually infringing Article 21 of the parties. Okay, and but why is this happening? This is not happening because the courts want to infringe your Article 21. This is happening because the number and the rate of cases is very, very high. And perhaps the judicial system is not able to handle the burden of it. So they are giving arguments from both the side. From one side, they are saying that, okay, you are infringing our Article 21. On the other hand, they are saying that we agree that it is, you know, the cases are not being disposed at a higher rate, but perhaps we can't help it. Perhaps the number of cases are too huge. Perhaps the judicial infrastructure is too narrow. Perhaps the number of judges is too less. Okay. And also, perhaps you can't expect that every case will be solved within a day. So we are giving both the sides of an argument.
Ma'am, just a funny doubt. So, like, what if the Ram Mandir case was taken by ADR? Would you think that would get a, you know, easier?
See,
or
I'll
quicker
tell you.
justice?
I'll tell you. When you talk about cases like this, a lot of parties are involved in it. Okay, and there is a lot of personal conflict of interest as well in these cases. And when we talk about these cases, these are huge landmark constitutional law cases because they affect not just a party or two. They affect the community as a whole. And in fact, I should say it is affecting the country as a whole, right? There are chances to get civil unrest and so on and so forth. So how can you say that these two particular parties will decide the fate of or will decide this particular issue for everyone? So this is the reason why perhaps I believe that the fact that they have taken it in a court had a better chances of it being implemented properly and people actually following the decision. If it would have gone for an ADR, perhaps in my opinion, people would not have followed the decision. People would have simply refused.
What if it would have gone for ADR? People would be satisfied that a decision came out of agreement between both the parties. Whereas
I'll
in
tell you
court,
one thing. Yes, please. Say it. Complete your sentence.
whereas if court was judgment, people might take it negatively as well.
On the other hand, I agree with your decision, with your statement. I can say on the other hand, that can happen that if you would have taken it for ADR, you would not have, impressed everyone. There would always be some people who would say that I do not agree with this decision. Let's say if the property would have gone equally to both the parties, somebody would always say that no, this party should have been completely given to one side, either of the side. So not everyone can be made happy when there are so many parties or people involved. So this is a downside of ADR which we are going to do as well, that not every question or not every dispute can be solved by ADR, specifically when you have a lot of parties and a lot of conflicting interests available or involved. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Guys, anything else? We will complete this theory in the next class. I have uploaded the document. I want to hear from your side that how would you make a link between ADR and docket explosion, that how you are trying to in any way. So do read it. I'm going to ask you relationship between ADR and docket explosion. Okay, I've taken down your attendances. Thank you so much,
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, please. Somebody was saying
something. Yeah, I would like to add one thing that just a very important piece, that is the advocates are not appearing.
But you're not audible at all. You're not audible at all. There is a lot of disturbance. People are leaving and they have their mics on. I can't hear you. You can put down your question in the chat box, and perhaps I'll be able to send you a reply there. Okay. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much. See you in the next class.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye. Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Ma'am.